Into the sharing.
Okay,
We can put those.
all right, let's say the pledge. 6:04. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. 3.0 of the agenda. Can I get a motion? I'll make the motion. Carmel, I'll second it. Any discussion or questions? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, 4.0 public comment, we have none at this time. 5.0 consent agenda, I'll need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mark, second. I'll second. Carmel, all right, any discussion there? Please. No, okay, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, 6.0 communications report. Number one, Jim Trulock.
Good evening. It's a pretty short one, but you guys can read, so I'll just highlight the first one, first and second, where we had solo ensemble and large group and band go to KMS and to Benson and compete. Mr. Gronseth was really happy with it. He felt they really progressed and did well. Travis Wassink, Avery Nurmi, London Hafer, Trey Lee, Molly Lowe, Henley Johnson, all had superior ratings. The numbers have went down as far as schools participating in those things, but Mr. Gronseth thinks these things are really beneficial. They get to have other people rate them and give them constructive criticism, and so he enjoys taking the kids, and he does think it's really, really beneficial. And then he did want me to put a link on there. There is a link that really kind of explains what these things are and how they can help kids. So if you guys get a free few minutes, link or click on that, and you can kind of see a little bit about it too. We did not have anybody qualify initially for the National BPA Convention. There's a possibility we had someone that was the first up if someone backed out. And if that happened, our person wasn't free to go. But we did have one that was just one spot away from qualifying. And then number 4, we did take some really nice art projects to Redwood Valley. And just to congratulate Reagan Akers, she did qualify for the state competition, which was this past Saturday, and did not attend. Ms. Goldbush was busy, and so was her family. But she did get what's called Best in Show art project. And other than that, all spring sports are on their way finally. We don't have many open dates because we lost a lot. And the next page you'll see that it does give all of our participation numbers, and Mrs. Tenson's been adding multiple years. You can kind of follow a grade up and see where the numbers are growing, or usually less are going out, but you can kind of follow that progress as well. So that's about all I have. Is there any questions?
Nothing, thank you. Thank you. Right, number 2, Mitchell Kent.
All right, good evening, everybody. For starters, I just want to thank you for approving the hiring of Kayla Meyer for our elementary music position. I'm excited to have her joining us this coming school year. And I'm in contact with her some, and she's looking to add a couple of different training opportunities throughout the summer and come as prepared as she can. So I think that'll work out very well. PE opening, we've had some. I've been very happy with the applicants that we've had so far. So I'll be reaching out to them either tomorrow or Wednesday and setting up interviews for that position as well. Reading curriculum, our team will be meeting again this week. Right now we have it down to 3 different programs that we're looking at, kind of got it honed down into. Fast Bridge training, we had our second of 4 3-hour trainings on Friday. And that'll be just replacing STAR as our benchmarking and assessment tool for the upcoming school year. So we're just trying to give our teachers as much of a head start with that as possible, just getting to learn the new program. Summer programming, the 9th was our final date for getting signed up for that, just so we could start to prepare materials, let kitchen staff know the number of, I guess lunches and breakfast we'll need for that. We always do end up getting more over the last couple weeks, but obviously that's something that we welcome and realize that for some parents it might not be possible to decide what you're going to do in June before we get to through the first week of May. So we'll welcome other people who are wanting to participate in that as well. Board visit day, I'm not really going to touch on a whole lot. I'll let you guys discuss that. I just wanted to thank you all for taking the time to come in and check out everything that we have to offer here and getting an opportunity to check out all of the students from preschool up to our high school. So thank you. Breakfast with Buddies. That was held over 2 days, the 2nd and 3rd of May. Some of you were here in person. With that, I felt like it went better than last year, just a little bit smoother, having it 2 mornings instead of just the one. I think there's always room for improvement with that going forward, but I am happy with how that looked this year compared to last year. So I think that's a positive. Looking into next year too, and what we can do to make even more improvements with that. The elementary concert and Grandparents' Day. Last week, I thought that went very well. I want to give Pam Knapper a shout out again, and John for joining us on the drums for 4th and 5th grade. But just coming in, and I can't emphasize enough how difficult it is to not just come in and be a long-term substitute, but to come in and do one of the biggest 2 items of a elementary music teacher of the whole year and jump in and do the matinee and the evening concert. So I thank her for all the time and effort she put in to make that work, and I felt like the students did a great job with that as well. So I'm very happy with how that went. Upcoming events here too, we just had track and field day, and that reminder will be in Maynard due to the lack of space right now here. And that will be broken down into grade levels this year. So every single grade level will have their own window of time just due to spacing and location and everything else. So not necessarily what we will do next year, but it was essentially our only option going into this spring. So if you hear any feedback on that, we're obviously not against going individual grade levels again next year, but we're looking into what that'll look like. So we appreciate any feedback that you hear with that. Have our last elementary assembly on the 21st, and then we have our FFA Egg Day on the 24th, and that afternoon we have kindergarten graduation as well. Any questions with anything?
All right, no questions, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, number 3, Judge.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'd like to highlight a quick thing for you tonight. And again, this May time is all about getting ready to celebrate our seniors as they're getting ready to walk across the stage at the end of the month. Seniors had a class trip on April 24th. Good time was had by everybody. We also had prom last Friday. It was at the Wilmer Convention Center. It was a wonderful, wonderful evening. Really want to say thank you to the convention center, because the amount of support that we had with flush halls and bathrooms and all that was phenomenal. That makes my brain operate a little bit slower at that point, because I'm not having to think about a million things. Interesting note, as I'm standing by the door, watching the foyer, watching the door, watching the hallway, making sure nobody's walking out, taking any extended field trips or anything. I did find out that people thought I was an employee of the convention center. So I had to answer some things that I was just kind of like, I don't know, that's a good question. I work here, so.
Yeah, they sent the timesheet.
I should try that. The senior day is going to be May 28th. That's Tuesday of the last week of school. Ran into a lot of conflicts with activities and those kinds of things, so it's a little bit sooner than regular. But working with Mr. Trulock, we figured that was the best opportunity to do that, because of needing to get practice in, making sure that the students could participate in the graduation walk down in the elementary. and have the awards ceremony. So looking forward to having that. The May 30th is the final student day. Again, that's a half day. And as we're getting ready to roll into the 31st, which is a Friday, for graduation, just extending an offer to all of you to participate in graduation if you would like. Are there any of you that have an initial feeling at this point that, yes, I will 100% be there, or do you need to think about it? And there's no pressure behind me asking. I'm not putting you on the spot to give me an answer now, but if you're like, yeah, I'll be there, then just let me know. And then I do have a late addition to the report that did not make it in. We had the meeting after I'd already submitted my report, was that we're getting ready for a credit recovery also. So we have Jessica Rolas and Crystal Willander are going to be overseeing the credit recovery summer work that we do, and then I'm going to have for sure an English representative and a social studies representative with some ancillary math support to be able to help kids so they can get some of those credits together. Do you have any questions for me at all?
All right,
Thank you so
no
much.
questions, thank you. All right, Josh, you're.
Well, good evening to all. Prior to jumping into the notes that I have to share, I do want to give an update on the building project. And some of these items are my own, some of these items are from Dan, who works for ICS, but despite some weather setbacks, we're still on schedule. So even though we had, the rain in the last couple of weeks, we were still on schedule, and that's great to share. Clara City was going to be tarring the road just to the north of the water tower. I believe that's actually called Water Tower Road. With the machinery that's going to be up and down that area, we worked with the city, and they're going to postpone that asphalt work until later on, whether it's later on this summer or later this fall, just so that money that's being invested by the city and the township is not damaged by the trucks that we use to haul sand and gravel in and out. So if you heard that was going to get tarred earlier, late this spring, early this summer, that is going to be postponed due to the project that is currently going on. And not only are they on schedule, but we are right on budget too. So that's a good thing that I wish to share with you. Last week, and then into this week, what's going on with the project itself. Last week, the field lights were delivered. The scoreboard footings were poured, and they've actually hauled some of the I-beams out there that we put in the scoreboard on, have already been placed out there. They're not upright yet, but they're simply laying there and they're ready for the next thing. Also, some utility supplies were delivered, some electrical spools, some conduit work, some additional lighting things that they'll need to put the lights up with. I think really just the nuts and bolts, for lack of a better word, of those poles. This week, the light poles will be installed. So I was shared that's going to be kind of exciting to see dirt that we've seen for the last 10 days or 2 weeks to actually something that's higher than, a 7-foot berm. So light poles will be installed. Sand hauling will begin, and they'll begin to respread that over where the track was and where the new parking lot is. So if you were to look at it from an aerial view, you begin to see kind of the outline of the oval of the track in sand, and then where that 90-plus parking lot area will go. And then also too, they'll continue with the cut and fill. So they'll cut and move it and then fill in different areas. I did talk to a couple of the property owners that we have to the north of us. One is a gentleman that farms that area. And when we actually did, not we, anybody around this table, but when they did the surveying, that farmer was planting on school property and has for over a decade. And so that person is working with us in good relationship so we can pull those stakes out, and he can still, or they can still farm that area without having them plant a handful of rows of, they're going to be planting soybeans this year in that farm. And we did not want to, as a good neighbor, to drive over that after it's been planted. And so therefore, I believe his schedule is that the soybeans that he would like to plant will not go in until the end of this week or early next week. So we've been in a relationship with that family, and then also two of our neighbors, the residents that live there. We had a conversation during Grandparents' Day about whether or not, and it was all in jest, on whether or not we were building those hills so they couldn't see the school anymore. And then one of them wants to actually rent some space on one of the hills from Mr. Trulock as their own viewing area. But then they won't be paying a ticket price, but we'll have to work something.
Oh, we'll see it.
Yeah, we shall see.
Premium tickets. Yeah, great.
Also too, Kim and I and Noel and Dan from ICS had a very honest conversation with Masters Plumbing, Chapel Central, SLB, which is the manufacturer, and Automated Technologies in regards to the deductible that the district was responsible for, to use the insurance money. And if you go back to the February board meeting, thank you to Deb for, just encouraging us and asking challenging questions about that. The members that I mentioned, they're all business and they're all for profit. They can sell an additional service, they can sell an additional item to recoup some of those costs. As a public school, legally, we can't. We're not gonna have a raffle, ticket sale out here or a plant sale or something like that, for that. And with Kim, Noel, myself, and Dan actually having eye contact with people and hearing our voices and sharing with them, they have been willing to put together $7,500 of the $10,000 deductible. So thank you to all of you on the school board and Deb especially for that February comment to get the ball rolling with that item with the deductible. So into the notes, the bulleted items that I put together for this evening really are all celebrations and shout outs in this last month of school. I want to thank all of you for coming and giving your time for the school board visits. Those kids that you met when you first came in, are still talking about that sitting at the board table, and they appreciated the time that you guys gave them, and you entertained their questions and they answered things for you. So I really appreciate that. We had 100% participation. All the school board members were there on that day. For those of you that are watching from a distance, each of the school board members has a Bigfoot sticker or two in front of you. Those are the things that you do as a school board are behind the scenes. And we either choose to believe or not to believe, but I think our constituents should believe in you. And so therefore you're getting a Bigfoot sticker for your participation in the school board meeting and the school board visit to our school. Thank you to Mr. Trulock and Edith for doing all the scheduling this spring. We had meets and baseball games and golf meets and stuff like that, and they did a great job to reorganize things so the kids did not miss out on those opportunities. There were many nights in which the rain started to fall at 1 o'clock, and Edith and Mr. Trulock had about 17 minutes to, orchestrate what are the kids going to do for practice, who's going where, and when are we going to make up these games. Tonight is a great example. It's beautiful outside. And all of our activities, at least all of our varsity activities, are doing something this evening, all over West Central Minnesota. Really hats off to Denise Smith and the rest of the 2180 Foundation, which some of you are part of. Great success with the online auction that they had. If you did not know this, Mr. Trulock actually had something in the auction, and it was an opportunity for somebody to throw a pie in his face. And I believe that there was many dollars that was raised for that. So thank you to Mr. Trulock for giving of your time, energy, and
I'm very excited.
yeah, thank you.
And they won't tell me who it is.
It's anonymous. During the hamburger fundraiser, close to 500 hamburger meals were served that evening. And that's just what a tremendous effort by those folks to benefit our kids at McCray. Outstanding work by Kim to my left. Just all the work with the budget. Not only the diligence and the accuracy, of looking at the budget and balancing all the different things and making sure all the codes are correct as they're entered in, but also to just the patience and the clear communication with me, as the year has gone on. So thank you, Kim, very much. Excellent work by Mr. Wheatley and also our calendar committee. As you know, the READ Act has really thrown a lot into our conversation. In the conversation of, okay, do we have half days to provide professional development? Is it full days for professional development? And really looking at the needs of our community and also the needs of our staff. It's difficult to have a half day of school. It really is. You can count it as a full day, but come and visit. It's the kids spend a lot of time just in transition. And so that was very much taken into consideration as Mr. Wheatley and the calendar committee assembled the 2024-2025 school calendar. Great job to Mr. Kent with taking the lead with all things READ Act. Some of the things that he hasn't mentioned he has done, but I want to just make sure that you know what he's doing. He's met with all the staff. He's organized meetings with vendors. He has also joined webinars with Southwest West Central and also MDE, and has put together a plan of implementation for our literacy that's going to be not only good for our kids, but it's also going to help out our staff too. And it's a lot to ask. And Ms. Mitchell has done a super job of getting that going. Just within the last week or 10 days or so, I was on a meeting with him, and we were visiting with an individual from Letters This person is based out of Casper, Wyoming, and, Mitchell has brought that person on board to share with staff. What does our district need? What are our objectives? How can they help us and support us? Well done to Noel Emsk and his custodial team. They're Raymond, Miriam, Chris, Kurt, and Matt. To say the least, this has been a very full year. The team is especially busy at this time of the year with multitudes of activities. The grandparents' day, the buddies that come in, the field trips that need to have things toted from one place to another, preparing all the ball fields, around the neighborhoods. And then there's even days in which, our group will go over to Raymond to stripe a softball field, and then all of a sudden, it's all for naught, because the game now is postponed till the next day. So those people are being pulled a lot of different directions. Also too, it's those things, but it's cleaning up wet tennis shoes when they come in, in the preschool area, in the first grade area, because those little tennis shoe marks don't just stop, 5 feet from the door. They continue, until the squeaking wears off, until the mud has been off. Right now today, they're replacing some trees, adding mulches in many places, communicating with contractors, and if you look behind your right shoulders, you can see also trying to battle the dandelions. That group has right now, we've started the process of getting some training for them, and not only some HVAC things. That'll be starting in June. Also, we have the majority of the custodial team will be participating in some education in St. Cloud to update their boiler operator licenses, and then also reaching out to some lawn and some tree services to get some help on, okay, how do we keep this grass green? How do we keep the weeds from taking over? And that really has been a learning curve for that crew. It's already been shared, but I want to share it too. Really kudos to Pam Knapper. She's long-term sub in music, and she's done an absolutely tremendous job with the spring, concert. It really is, a flower in the school lapel, if you will, this spring, and I'm so very proud of that. Also, a little shout out to one of our very own, special shout out to our guest percussionist, our very own John Hagemeyer, school member, and drum maestro. So well done. We might have to send you a bill for all the updates you've made on the trap set. There's some painting tape. Terrific job by Mr. Jesse Westrock behind the scenes. To have our kids one-to-one with devices is a great thing, but to get them out in their hands and then to get them back out of their hands when they go for summer break, and then to do all the different updates, whether it's repairing the hardware pieces of it and also updating the software things, he's doing a very good job with that. Also too, he's really done a lot of wonderful things behind the scenes with giving teachers the resources they need to be successful with technology. Just because you give a teacher a computer doesn't mean, that they know exactly how they're going to use it efficiently or for the best use. All of us, I believe, in the room can take a computer and open it up and use it as a Google search machine. Okay, but there's so much more to those devices than just research. So he's doing that and doing a good job. He's also too looking at some ways for us to save money in the future, because the life of a device is only going to be so long. And then it's going to be time to renew. And we don't want to have a big year where we have a large budget item that's going to go just towards devices. Or if we had to go backwards to have a year in which we can't replace some devices, and then kids are being asked to use things that maybe are a generation or 2 generations too old. So he's beginning to build a long-term plan with that. Julie Woolman in food service, in collaboration with SHIP, which is the Statewide Health Improvement Partnership, has been encouraging kids throughout the year, and especially over this last month, to encourage kids to explore new flavors. May's adventurous tasting was avocado and cilantro. So the kids each wore a sticker if they tried that, or at least they put it on their plate. But a great end of the school year, and thank you to all of you for your part, and to all of you around the table. So thank you. Any questions for me?
I just, I'd like to comment that for me, the board visit day is a great thing. It's encouraging. Sometimes the things that end up with us discussing them here aren't always the most positive, but walking around, you do see a lot of positives that day, and I appreciate coming. So.
And also too, it's an open invitation too, that you're welcome to board members and community members to come any day you wish. That's very important. Deb actually had her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to practice. So I can just have a couple comments about the board visit. They
Yes.
too appreciated the opportunity to come and just to see how engaged our staff were with the students. A couple things I'd just like to throw out is, again, we really need to look at that sped space. It is less than. When we have to divide up rooms with file cabinets so that there's organization in those rooms, that's just wrong. And I think they had 11 in the one room. That's not okay either. So I think we need to continue to look at that. And again, we were told that we have plenty of space, but we've got kids sitting out in entryways working with staff. That's not okay either. So how do we make sure that that space is accommodating to meet the children who need those extra, this little extra help and whatnot, and not make it be less than what their classrooms are, because those classrooms are beautiful, but nobody had dividers with file cabinets. Couple questions about the project update. So when you said we came in on budget, was it on budget based upon any changes that were made, or was it based upon the original budget that was proposed?
So the comment that I made about we were on budget is up to this date. If you were to take a calendar of what they were gonna get done by this date and how much those things would have cost up till this date, we are on budget. So we have not had any surprises, you know, with, you know, I don't know, a lack of equipment coming or lack of resources to be able to get done what we wanted to by this point. So that was just a simple statement of, this is when the project started and this is what we were hoping to have done by May the 13th. And those things, if you follow that column down, what would have those things cost? We are so far on budget
Okay.
with that.
So were there changes to the original plan that we have, that we viewed as a full board? Just because I'm
Yeah,
hearing things.
ask more. 'Cause
Okay, so I'm hearing that the softball team is gonna be playing on AstroTurf, on turf next year. Is that, are
That
we
is-
moving the varsity field over?
That is incorrect.
Okay,
So
thank
let me talk, I want to address
Thank you.
that. So,
Yeah.
so the artificial surface will be the traditional football field,
Mhm.
okay, with end zones, 20-foot,
Yeah.
10-yard end zones. Beyond that, there are two areas that are called D zones. Okay, in one of those D zones, it'll be surfaced like a track. And so that is where you'll have high jump will take place. The other D zone will be artificial surface. It'll match the color, the texture, et cetera, to the rest of the playing surface. Okay, for football, for resets, for whatever it might be. Within the 100-yard field, there will also be little dashes or little dots, if you will, that'll be sewn into the field. So if you wanted to put bases down to practice infield for baseball or softball, you wouldn't have to pull out a tape measure every time and do that, but you know exactly where to put those throw down bases on there.
But it would be on turf,
It would be on turf.
which is completely different practicing on turf than what it is on AgriLine, the way the ball bounces, and
True, but absolutely much better than being on a gym floor in a hall.
that's true.
Okay, so but you're right, yeah. And then the piece would be that I want to add to that is the football field or the complex itself in the turf would not be big enough to play a varsity baseball field. But there is enough landscape, grass, if you will, to play a Minnesota State High School varsity softball game. There is not a plan to move into there to play games, but it sure could be a nice space for other schools in the area that simply can't get on their field, or even, Wilmer has, community college teams that don't have the kind of facility, like as the high school does. I misspoke, but the plan is not to have softball move on to the turf.
Well, thank you. We
Can I add to that, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this probably came from me talking to people because,
The kids were sharing them,
yeah,
and I'm like,
and
really? I didn't know
they,
that.
I showed them pictures and it'll fit a full softball field. And when it comes down, if we have one of those springs, that's gonna be clear way earlier. So if it gets to the point where it's a horrible spring and we can't get to the field, we would have the ability to play a game here to get going earlier in the season if they would choose to. That was all, but no intention of moving
Well,
our
if you
games.
haven't had an opportunity, there is a group of committed volunteers from the community of Raymond. Those diamonds down there are pristine. And we've gotten tons of compliments about how they're maintained. Volunteers are down there striking the fields the night before the game, painting and just weed whacking and mowing, and they are pristine. They look beautiful. So I would hope that we would never consider bringing varsity over here for that. The other thing is, I've been getting a lot of phone calls, I don't know if you've gotten any, John, from folks from Maynard about the bleachers. I said, I think I recalled when we first met that the bleachers were in their original proposal, is that correct?
They're gonna be disassembled and reassemble.
But why can't we keep them at Maynard? If they were in the original proposal to put bleachers up here,
Well, there was I do believe we got a quote on what new bleachers would cost,
Yeah.
but that wasn't, and you'll have to speak to this if I'm out of line, but I don't believe that was in the final proposal, we had brand new bleachers.
That wasn't a cut,
Yeah.
that was
well, that was not shared at a board meeting, and maybe at a committee meeting, but not at a board meeting.
possibly, yeah.
Well, we did
What
purchase,
did I
we
see?
did purchase a chunk of bleachers.
The
whenever-
visitor-
For the visitors,
visitor
Yeah,
bleachers
yes,
are-
yes.
I guess I understood when ICS was here that they talked about there being new bleachers on the other complex.
New crow's nest.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Okay,
other than maybe the first meeting, it's been, we were moving the bleachers over almost from the beginning, other than the crow's nest didn't meet code.
Okay.
And there's been a lot of rumors about that, they mixed up crow's nest with bleachers.
sure, okay.
And the reason for that, like.
Is it the cost?
So the cost of bleachers, yes, it's much more cost effective to move them over here. The need of a new crow's nest would have to do with meeting requirements that we didn't have to have 10 years ago or 20 years ago in terms of size. You know, a personal story, I coached football for many years and my kids from very small went up in that press box and ran around and watched the game from 20 feet up in the crow's nest. That's not very safe, and so we don't want to have that kind of a facility. So it's meeting updated codes.
So will one set of bleachers, will the visitors' bleachers at least be kept in Maynard? The reason they're asking is they'd
No.
like to use that for a rodeo. And I said, I'm gonna bring it up tonight because when the school, both East and West moved over here,
Mhm.
there were things left behind, like tractors, brand new stacks of chairs, smart boards. There were pallets of chemicals that were left. And so if we're gonna leave stuff behind, isn't there maybe a possibility that we could leave Maynard with some bleachers?
No, we need them, those are gonna go to the track and field and the shot, discus, and the grass football field area over there, so they can be used, because we'll be having games on the grass field out here. I mean, if we would do that, we would have to buy brand new bleachers to use here then.
Okay.
But
Then
that,
I'd ask,
yep, they are gonna grind out everything that comes out of the concrete is gonna be prepared for people to bring stuff in, set on it, even if they want chairs or whatever, I mean, throughout the year. They're not gonna leave it to where the concrete slabs and stuff aren't usable.
What else?
that's it,
Okay.
that's it.
Thank you.
All right, no more questions for Josh then? Okay, and bid reports are done, so 6.3, board discussion, graduation and those claim forms we want in June.
Yeah, we need to pay forms in June, so if you need one, grab them, drive it, pass them down, or electronic. Yeah, that's, yeah, but
At the end of the
you wanna have
June,
everything
yeah.
on there.
June is your financial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Graduation. Who wants to help at graduation? I think you and I have done it the last couple of years. Or were you not there last year? I know, I've done it the last 3 years. Oh, that's right, because you had a graduate.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to participate and be present. I
Okay.
just gotta check. I don't know
If
what
it works
schedule's
for
looking
you.
like for that night. So if it's something I can just send an email.
I was planning to go,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
anyway, I have a couple of nephews.
Okay.
So if you need.
Yeah, because we usually do 2 people,
Yeah.
that assist in
But if
handing
somebody
out the
else,
diplomas.
you know,
I have a
wants to-
grandson graduating that same night,
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mark, if you and
I would,
Carmen want to do it?
I say I would be able to too, but.
Sure,
Okay.
no, well, I can sit in the crowd too.
You just need to know if you're gonna be on stage, so you know what to wear.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
And the way it's set up, it's just shake hands.
Sure.
Yeah, that's all.
I'll be handing the diploma out, class officer, class president will be reading the names, and then, they'll just stop, handshake, smile, go to center stage, pose, photos, and then go through the rest of the line, so. Pretty cool maintenance.
Okay, well, thanks.
If you want.
Yeah,
I've done it before. So.
I'll just confirm that it should work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let Jeff know
Yeah,
maybe by the end of this week.
Yeah,
So that
be
we,
sure.
yeah, that'd be great.
okay, thank you, good. All right, now we're on to business item 7.0. Need a motion to approve that continuing contract for those people, Erickson Oblish Art and Mertz.
So moved.
All right, is
I'll second.
that you, John?
Yep.
Okay. Right, and is this is a continuing contract?
They've done their 3 years of probationary.
Okay, that's why it's coming up, okay. All right. Any other questions? Comments? If not, okay, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay, 7.2, need a motion to approve policy 533, the wellness policy. Oh, you want, okay, Carmel, okay. I'll second that. Anybody have any questions or comments about that? Seemed like there was just some language for
Yeah,
policy.
and we had just updated it in January, but when we had our food service audit, they said we had to have specific people laid out in different
To meet the
places.
requirements.
Yeah, to meet the requirements, so we had to.
An example was we had wellness coordinator, we had to put in, it would be the nurse.
Yeah. We had to
Oh,
have a
okay.
specific-
Or
Who would be the wellness?
Yeah.
coordinator?
nutrition coordinator, we need to put it, it's gonna be the head of.
Yeah, you had to be more specific, so.
Right.
All right, any other comments or questions on that? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. 7.3 is a motion to approve fiscal year 2024 revised budget. Again, I will make that motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
Carmel? Okay. Questions on that?
Is our plan to maybe, help the
Yeah.
community service area out again?
Yes.
All right. Well, any other questions? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay, 7.4, need a motion to approve the school year 24-25 school calendar.
So,
John, all right, second.
I'll second.
Mark, any questions on that? So we got our snow days built in or extra days?
I did have one question. On the bottom here in blue, it says we're reducing 146 student days. Is that a carryover from last year, or is that changing again?
That is what's.
Yeah, so it's a reduce to 146, not reducing 146 of them, but go ahead,
Right,
and Judge kind of share what.
So it's a reduction in order to build in more professional development to cover redact.
Okay.
So it's not all done outside of school.
What is that being reduced from? What is the
One 149.
oh, so it's like 3 days.
149.
Oh. So it went from 149 to 146.
And we cross-checked and triple-checked and quadruple-checked what that would look like for the hours, and we're still 2 hours over the minimum. And that's a hard thing to say, but with the redact eating up so much time, I mean, we've got, by adding that time in to allow the teachers to have some professional development time for redact, we're still, about 100, in the end, over 2 years will be about 110, 114 hours short. So just providing them the opportunity during the workday in order to address that curricular need is big.
Sounds like there's gonna be more clarification on that from the state too, is what we've been getting.
I think so. It's such a challenge because right now there are districts that have already implemented literacy plans. And now they kind of want a piece of that pot. Why not? I would too. And so they're considering having like a stipend for all of those schools that have already completed it. There's others that are just starting the process now, like we are. We have a couple that are trained. If you have to pay for 144 hours of a teacher's 144 hours outside of the school day, that's a tremendous cost. So that's why I said it was difficult for the county community to implement this, but it's a fiscal piece as well.
And as a forewarning, it's a 2-year plan in order to get everybody trained. So pending approval, this will probably be a carbon copy.
I was just looking too, like the difference between student days and staff days, there's just a lot more staff days because of this, but
Yep.
like, how much is it normally? Like, how many staff days are there, like, say this year or last year before that?
Right, around 10.
Oh, around 10,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, so pretty close.
So did you add some more of those staff days on the front end here in August? Or is
Yes.
that okay?
No, I'm sorry. No, I answered your question before you finished. I'm sorry. You'll see them sprinkle out. We have more professional development days within each month. So you'll see almost one yellow box per month. And the way that actually tentative plan, working with Mr. Kent, is that we have days that are going to work in order to have a whole cohort training with the trainer, which is important because asking everybody to come in on a date that's not already scheduled, that's a big ask.
And the timing worked out for that aspect of it almost perfectly, because they need approximately 6 to 8 weeks between each in-person training. And it lined up where we're set up right now for September, November, January, March. So it's, that part of it worked out great, so appreciate the extra staff days that work for that now.
Okay, any other discussion on the calendar? If not, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay, 7.5 is a motion for a resolution for write-in votes for school board elections. Anybody want to make that motion?
I can make the
I
motion.
read you. Okay, Carmel. Second? I'll second that one. Okay. It's not too long. Tim.
Yeah,
You wanna
no,
do
that's
that?
okay.
Okay.
A resolution governing write-in vote counting, whereas Minnesota statute 204B09 subdivision 3 authorizes the school board to adopt a resolution governing the counting of write-in votes. Whereas a school board that adopts a resolution must do so before the first day of filing for office. Whereas school, city, and county election officials spend considerable time and resources to count and individually record write-in votes cast, many of which are frivolous. And whereas, in order to save time and resources, it is the best interest of the McCray School Board to enforce restrictions on the counting of write-in votes consistent with the provisions of Minnesota statute 204B09 subdivision 3. Now therefore be it resolved by the school board of the McCray School District, ISD number 20180, Minnesota, that votes for write-in candidates will only be individually recorded if the total number of write-in votes for an office is equal to or greater than the fewest number of non-write-in votes for a ballot candidate for that office. Excuse me, be it further resolved pursuant to Minnesota statute 204B subdivision 3, this resolution shall remain in effect until a subsequent resolution on the same subject is adopted by the school board of the schools. It's a lot.
Yeah. Anybody have any thoughts on that or questions?
I just have a question. I was thinking about in the paragraph that starts now therefore, votes for write-in candidates will only be individually recorded. So let's say somebody files and somebody is a write-in and they're like 3 votes shy of the one that filed. If it's not recorded, perhaps that person might want to challenge the accuracy. How would they know that? I get the Mickey Mouse and the frivolous ones, but I'm just thinking if there was, how would that person know that? Because it specifically says will only be recorded.
Well, do they, and what's their timing for recording? Did they mean officially after everything's been looked at and then it's officially recorded that way? I don't quite understand.
But the way this reads is
Yeah, when they're recording.
that will only, votes for write-in candidates will only be individually recorded. It doesn't
Doesn't say.
matter how or whatnot. I'm just wondering if there's a little,
But, okay, the difference between individually recorded by the school district versus the
But it doesn't say
county,
that.
or, no, that's right, well, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
versus the county or the state.
Yeah,
This is just referring to apparently the district, how the district records things. From what I can
This is
see
from Michelle May from Chippewa County.
from the county.
Can I ask what prompted the question or why?
Yes, yes.
I think it's
a legal thing also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so, but they requested that we do this.
this is something we've done in the past too, right?
No,
this is
no,
new.
no.
Okay.
This is you, yeah.
that was my only thought about it, is that if it's a close and somebody wanted to challenge the results, if it's not recorded, they're not going to know.
Right, but my question was, is this the only place it's recorded?
We don't-
Yeah, I don't know that, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if it's the state's still gotta record all elections that happen within the state. So are they recording differently than this? That's what, I don't know.
You wanna table this?
I think the
Yeah,
background to this is so that Chippewa County or other counties don't have to record every single write-in vote that anybody's ever put in. And so they say, okay, we're gonna count these all, but if you don't make the minimum, then you're not, we don't have to record it.
Doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Didn't mean it didn't
Yeah.
happen, it just means it isn't recorded, so they don't have to publish so many, odd ones that just.
Right, so that would mean if you were a candidate, you could probably personally go question. And
Right,
find
and
out how many
maybe
votes
that's the
you
difference
received.
between if you're a write-in and whether you're a candidate, that if you're within 3 votes, why didn't you become a candidate if you're so, concerned about
Or
the
you missed
person
it.
above you? I don't know.
You missed a deadline or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I hear you.
But does the write-in get notified of the results from the district before it gets recorded?
That's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. That's what I'm saying. And when is it, is this
Yeah.
just, because I would assume as a candidate, you would have the right to ask how many votes
Yeah,
you received.
Yeah,
And
because
Because the votes are there.
there are people who decide to run after the deadline. Somebody convinces them to
Right.
run, but they run as a write-in candidate.
Or somebody could not even know that a group of people are putting their names
Right.
away,
Right.
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
But what I'm saying is, I think as a candidate, you would always have the right to find out the vote total that you got personally, whether it's officially recorded is what I'm getting at the end of the day. Yeah, I don't think this
But
is,
you might not
I don't
know.
think this is keeping anybody from finding out how many votes they personally got. That's how I'm reading this.
But it says it won't even be recorded. So how would they find out?
I think recorded, as they're putting here, is officially documented versus
So then
recorded
can we
that
change
it's
that language to
tallied.
that? Official, I mean,
I think that's where, as lawyers, we
Well,
don't
if
know
I
what
talk
it
to
means.
Michelle
Yeah.
and we'll
Yeah.
send it back.
it looks like this came from the League of Minnesota Cities.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we did not
she
create
she
this.
adjusted it to
Yeah.
try to fit this.
Yeah.
Right,
or even if there's a 10%, like if it's instead of equal or greater, if it's a 10%,
Well, like, I was a write-in candidate,
yeah,
and I found out from Kim, not from any official
see, yeah,
Sure.
voting,
yeah.
any
Yeah.
counting person, so.
And then did you
Yeah.
change it? And you go, oh, no.
No, it is not.
I got
clear.
that phone call. I got a call from him asking how many votes you need to get.
Okay,
Oh, he was knocking doors in my
Just
neighborhood.
one more than anybody else.
I think you planted grass.
I had to bring it.
We were not gonna let that slide. Somebody checked to see who was gonna get elected. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, good idea to check
I'll,
that.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
call her
As
and
long as we have
express.
Yeah. It's just that it's not
Just ask the
clear.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
What is the date for filing?
End of July, beginning of August. somewhere.
So we have. another month.
Yeah.
Mhm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will publish that. I think it's next month we start publishing it.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Okay. 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 So, yeah,
Right, so we want to just table that.
great. We get some clarification on it. Okay, 7.6 then, so let's go on here.
I'll make that a motion.
Okay, I'm gonna say that's also a resolution here.
Oh,
Okay, yeah. Already. Okay, let's get it. It's up. Yeah. I'll second it. All right, go ahead and read it.
Member Brandt introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption. Whereas the following have generously offered to donate the following to McRae School District: Chapel Central, SBL, $5,000, Automated Technology, $750, Masters Plumbing and Heating, $1,750. Whereas the conditions on this gift are to be used to offset costs of water damage not covered by insurance. Therefore, be it resolved by the McRae School Board to gratefully accept the gift. The motion for adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly seconded by member Julie Mulcahy,
Yep.
and upon vote being taken thereon, the following voted in favor thereof.
All right, any discussion on that? Right, if not, those in favor say, oh, I gotta do.
Aye.
Okay, Deb, Mark, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, John?
Yes.
Yes.
Your name, sorry. And Julie, I'm a yes too, so that resolution passed. Okay. Let's see, this last thing there, 8.0 meetings. Regular school board meetings for June, July, and August are listed there. They needed a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ramel,
Second.
and Deb, right? Okay, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Great, we are adjourned. What is it? 6:55, huh? Yeah, great. Yeah.
Just,